All right, it's time to expose some people. Let's talk about all those things those agents don't want to talk about. Look, first thing on the list here is open houses, and the reality is it serves me more than it serves you. Most statistics will state that open houses sell anywhere between 0.5% to maybe up to 3% at the actual open house. That the open house itself is actually the modality of selling the home. But the reality is I host those bad boys because I'm trying to find buyers that are not working with an agent. But the reality is that there are probably anywhere between 1 out of 5 to 1 out of 7 people that come through the house that are just nosy neighbors or people that are out there just piddling around. And you don't want people just walking through your home, tracking dirt, causing a wreck into your nosy stuff if they don't actually have any intention to buy. Number 2 is, dude, your house smells. Whether it's pet smells or some other type of odor, or you just cook bacon on a regular occasion. I was guilty of that. Still occasionally am. There's a term called nose blindness, which just means that over time you have a tendency to not smell the smells that are in your house anymore. And there's been plenty of times I've gone out and shown houses where we walk in, the first thing we smell is cats. The other thing here is you don't want to go too far down that path of covering up smells, right? If you could walk into the house and the first thing is this overwhelming vanilla smell, I know you're covering something up. You want to go with something light, something easy, something subtle, and you may even want to look at actually putting in like a baked cookie smell. That's probably one of the easiest ones. Who doesn't love freaking some chocolate chip cookies? Number 3 thing the agent's not going to want to tell you is just show the damn house, right? I get it. Your kids made a mess. It's a little bit messy, but we're in a very quick and moving market. And if you get a last minute showing request, this could be the difference between a multiple offer and, just an okay offer. That difference could be tens of thousands of dollars. It's okay if the house is a slight mess, just show the house. Number 4, do not dismiss the lowball offer. Counter everything. The reality is someone could just be kicking the tires, someone could just be testing to see what you're willing to do. You don't know. I get it, you're offended, it hurts your feelings, get over it. And so I would always err on the side of countering than dismissing the lowball. Counter the offer rather than dismiss it. You don't know where it will end up. Number 5, go with the pros. Look, no one can be all things to all people, and the reality is that every product or service that you use on a regular occasion relies on expertise. This is from Chick-fil-A to Ritz-Carlton to Starbucks, or even the Navy SEALs. There are specialized positions in every single organization or product that you engage with. You don't want to go with somebody that does the whole show by themselves. They're going to do some things poorly, rather than having a few dedicated people in each role that can do something exceptionally. Sean does all of my videography. King, the editor on this video, does all of the editing. I could not do those things well, and so we have a team of people that put all of this content together. A team of professionals over individuals. That's my advice. Number 6, don't skip the walkthrough. Now you may think, why wouldn't an agent tell me about this? Well, it makes it easier, right? If you don't have to go through the walkthrough, you go to closing, it's done, it's over with. Most agents, I'm gonna err on the side of saying, are probably not this malicious or bad. However, they may not give you the advice that you need. The walkthrough is super important. I can't tell you how many times we've showed up at walkthrough, and even though we had receipts for the repairs, I actually went and inspected it. The work wasn't actually done. Now, a little insider secret here, you can actually have the inspector do a re-inspection for a nominal fee. If there's any number of list of items that you're gonna be asking for on the repair request from the home inspection, this probably would be a smart thing to go ahead and do. That way you actually have a professional's opinion rather than your subjective opinion when going back to the listing agent or to the seller and saying, hey, look, this stuff's not done. At the very minimum, you can have the agent go on your behalf and record a walkthrough for you. You're gonna wanna turn on the sinks, flush the toilets, turn on lights, ceiling fans, and all the other things that, even the HVAC, because you wanna make sure that stuff is functioning at walkthrough before you go to closing. Because as soon as you sign on that bottom line, and as long as it wasn't malicious from the seller, you now are the owner of that problem. Number 7, be very, very careful of any agent trying to sell you the moon. The easiest possible way to win a listing is to tell you exactly what you want to hear. What do you want to hear? You want to hear that your house is going to sell for more than anybody else's on the block. One of the number 1 things any good agent is going to do is say, look, Mr. or Mr. Seller, can I have permission to tell you what you need to hear and not necessarily just what you want to hear? This is a sign of a professional. You want somebody that is going to tell you the facts, period, end of sentence. Number 8, staging is kind of like a push-up bra. It distracts you from the rest of the package. Now, I'm not saying that staging isn't a good idea, but what it can do on a property that has not been properly maintained or cared for is distract you from the outlets that are, for some reason, bright white on the faceplate, but beige underneath, or the small discrepancies found throughout the house. Because it's all staged nice and pretty, you have a tendency to gloss over all the little red flags that pop up. Again, just kind of like a push-up bra. It distracts you from all the other red flags that go on. Number 9, clear your counters and get rid of your stuff. Look, nobody likes clutter and nobody likes your stuff more than you do. But all the buyers coming through your property care about them, not about you. I'm looking at you, Grandma, with the 40 bajillion pictures you have of your family on the stairwell, which makes it feel like a haunted house. Look, if you don't want to sell for the most amount of money, just ignore me on this, but what I'm telling you is the house needs to be a blank canvas for the buyer to imagine themselves living there. They don't care about your 14 pretty little mixers that you have and your red toaster oven. Clear off the counters, make it look like a magazine. Number 10, Zestimates and algorithms. Now, I could freaking drone on about this all day long. I cannot tell you how many times, hey Dan, Zillow tells me that my house is worth this. Redfin says my house is worth this. Really? Because Redfin can't smell your cat piss. Algorithms can't tell you how dirty your walls are. Algorithms can't tell you whether there are stains in the carpet. Algorithms can't tell you whether the landscaping is good or not. The reality is if anyone is giving you a value on your house without actually being in the home, that is just a guess, a guesstimate. Oh, by the way, Zillow just laid off 25% of their workforce and sold $2.7 billion worth of properties. The company known for the Zestimate losing $2.7 billion. Sean, have you seen Wolf of Wall Street?
Yeah.
You know the scene where he's meeting with Matthew McConaughey and he's like, Fugazi, it's pixie dust.
It's fake.
Yeah, Fugazi, it's a wazi, it's a woozy, it's a fairy dust. It doesn't exist.
Yep. Now, I will give credit where credit is due. One of the things that you can actually take away from Zillow or Redfin are the trends, right? If you look at the last several years and it shows kind of the house value going up, the algorithm's gonna do a decent job of showing you what year over year values have gone up on average in the neighborhood. That is a decent metric that you can pay attention to. But the rest of it, absolute garbage. Number 11, your agent should be willing to share their numbers. Now, I'm not saying that an agent who sold a $500,000 house cannot sell a $1 million house. A lot of the basics are the same, but you want an agent that has experience in the area or the price point that you're at. Or at the very minimum, they have a great mentor or somebody ahead of them that can guide them along the way. What's really important here about these numbers is the month-to-month sales. The reality is if an average agent, which only does 8 to 12 deals a year, cannot guide you properly if the last 3 deals they did was 4 months ago. The market changes way too fast. You need somebody that is doing several deals a month in the marketplace with buyers and sellers on a day-to-day basis. It is impossible to properly advise if you're not regularly out there doing deals. A bit of advice here, go ahead and Google them. You can do that with me, Inman Home Services or Dan Inman. You can look at the Google reviews, check out their YouTube content, look at Yelp, look at Zillow, look at what people actually have to say about them, look at how many transactions they do and the average price point. I have nothing to hide. Go check me out. Number 12, and this one's a little bit weird. I literally can't tell you some things. If it has to do with race, creed, sexual orientation, gender, familial status, disability, or military status, I can't talk about that stuff. I've actually had someone look me straight in the face and say, do people live there? It's super uncomfortable and it's totally inappropriate and wrong. The only thing I can actually do is point you to statistics or data. And there's a decent one, data, I think it's like citydata.com or something along those lines. You can go and look up the demographics of a certain area, but really you need to go and drive the neighborhood, go talk to a few neighbors, go for a walk in the local park to determine if this is an area that you want to live. But I can't talk about some of that stuff. All right, number 13, remember that push-up bra we were talking about? So let's talk about actual staging. Leave it to the professionals. Unless you just have an exceptional eye for these things and actually do it for a profession, you probably suck. The reality is no one likes your custom imported Italian carpets that are the color mauve, or your champagne flutes that you for some reason decided were appropriate to put next to the bed, or the fake pie that you put in the middle of the table. That's all super cheesy. Now, a good listing agent will make that part of their listing package and consultation part of bringing in the professional to help you work with what you've got on hand. Now, I do think that actually having the home staged will make a difference. Most statistics point that they do sell for higher and quicker on the market. But even if you don't take advantage of that, you're going to want to leave the staging, at least the consultation of what to do within your house, to the professional. Look, if you'd like a professional that is going to actually guide you properly through this, all of our contact information should be down below. There is a link that you can jump directly into our calendars and do a consultation. It's absolutely 100% free, and we can help you create a custom success plan for you and your family. Number 14, it might just make sense to rent. Now I know I'm gonna tick off a few agents here because, hey Dan, you're talking me out of my commission. Look, shut it down, Karen. No one really cares about what you want. I'm gonna tell the client what's best for them, whether you like it or not. Look, it just might not be the best stage of life to go for it. Whether it's stage of life, you need flexibility, you've got job opportunities, you just don't have the time to take care of home repairs and all that kind of stuff. You don't have enough savings. Maybe you've got family that's moving into town or not moving into town, and you're trying to figure out how to balance all that stuff out. Renting is a perfectly fine option if you're not financially ready or it's just not the right stage of life, and you need somebody that's going to guide you through that decision-making process. Number 15, you buy the neighbors too. Look, whether you like it or not, the house inside may be gorgeous, but the people who park their car in the lawn live next door and you can't get rid of them, right? The reality is you buy the neighbors. So if they are up late partying, if they treat their house like absolute garbage, if they are absolute disaster of a show, you're going to be adopting them as part of your new life. So you want to make sure that you're not getting too caught up in what the inside of the house looks like, but also what the neighbor's doing. So if you're doing virtual tours, which we do all the time with clients, make sure that you actually have a video recording of the houses next door, across the street, and up and down the street. If you're here physically in town, I highly recommend going and visiting the house in the evenings, both on the weekday and weekend, before you pull the trigger if you have that opportunity. Number 16, wait for the next offer, counter, or reject. Look, I get it. Most agents want to get to the closing table and they may be pushing you to take what's in front of you. A good agent or a good person who has your best interest in mind will tell you whether it makes sense for your personal situation to either counter, to reject, to wait for a better offer. The best advice for you may be in that situation, just to walk. All right, number 17, and I know this one's gonna get somebody hot underneath the collar. I'm gonna get in trouble for this one for sure. Look, your dad, Auntie Ray Ray, or great Uncle Jimmy don't know what they're talking about. I know. I'm an agent. I just want the sale, blah, 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 blah. Oh, I didn't know that your Auntie Ray Ray sold hundreds and hundreds of homes. Oh, really great. Your great Uncle Jimmy bought his house 45 years ago and knows exactly how to negotiate, and he paid 90% of list price and got all of his closing costs. As a matter of fact, he got 110% of his closing costs covered. Even though you and I just went over all of the statistics last month, and every single house that sold at 103% of list price, and not a single one of them got closing costs covered. Yes, let's listen to your great Uncle Jimmy. Now, of course, I get it, right? There are exceptions to the rules here, but what I'm trying to say is that you want to go with the person that does it on the regular basis. I don't tell my dentist, my lawyer, or my doctor how to do their job. Stop telling me how to do mine. Now, if your dad is a home builder, if your great auntie is an investor and has bought hundreds of homes before, or your great Uncle Jimmy has invested in homes several different times and is on top of the market and maybe is an investor in a REIT or something along those lines, that's an exception to the rule. But the reality is, most of the time, they don't know what they're talking about. Now that I have sufficiently pissed everyone off, feel free to watch this video next.